Hello and welcome. Oh, that's funny. Just got a notification for 3:30. Wonder what the significance and synchronicities with threes and sixes will be. That's the Empress and the Lover's card. Um, in any case, I was noticing the contrast on my camera is a little off today, but I think I'm actually going to leave that. It seems fitting, uh, being that we're in Scorpio season, and Mercury just went direct and is in Libra too, which is also a good card of contrast. The Justice card is mainly associated with Libra and is definitely about contrast. And funny thing is a lot of times when we talk about karma, it really it really oftentimes just is contrast. Like we may be put in a situation that we don't like maybe we don't like being treated a certain way, and so we send out to the universe, I don't want to be treated this way anymore, or I want to be treated in the opposite way. And then what happens is we're shown how we treat others that way. And then we end up deciding to act differently. And when we act differently, then we kind of naturally repel those around us who were treating us the way that we didn't like when we stopped treating ourselves that way. And then we start feeling like people start showing up in our vibration who do treat us the way that we want to be treated, whether we just ask not to be treated in a bad way or we're asking for the good way that we wanted to be treated. Um, but that's the funny thing. That's often what karma is. Like a lot of folks associate it with like karma being your punishment, but it's not. That's why there's good and bad karma. It's more about what are you manifesting? How are you vibrating? How do you feel about yourself? What are you calling out and asking for in the world? Like if you're asking for a really crappy chaotic karmic situation to end and to know who's really your friend and not and things like that, well then all of that stuff is going to increase, including how you're contributing to it, until you stop treating yourself that way, which then you stop allowing others to treat you that way, and then you start making room in your life for those who do treat you well. And I mean that karma is lessons, it's not punishment. Anyways, it's interesting that that channeling came out for that. We'll see how that's relevant. This is going to be your next 48 reading. Oh, look, now it's 3:33. Today is 11/6/2020, so this will go to 11/8/2020. I'm going to start us out with our Sun and Moon card for right now. This might be a bit of a longer video because I'm going to not worry about how long they are. I know those of you that enjoy long ones will enjoy it. So we've got the Sun in Scorpio. Let's see if it'll... I apologize for the... You know what? I'm not going to apologize for the contrast. Right now, this is the image that we get right now, and I know that in your hearts you can see the beauty of the card. So, Sun in Scorpio, the card says a passionate, intense, or mysterious phase. And it's card number 8, which is associated with the Strength card, and it's about passion. And I love how we have, like, it looks like a dancing couple kissing each other, and then a sunrise in the background. Well, is it a sunrise? It could be a sunrise or a sunset. And what I'm going to say is that it fits very much with the Scorpio energy, which is the death card, which is death and rebirth. And I think in continuation with how things have already been going for about the last week, and especially through the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, there are many things in our lives that either are dying and being reborn, or that are dying, um, that may not seem like they're going to be reborn, but could surprise you. We had that blue moon energy, and the blue moon energy is going to last longer than typical moons do, even full moons. And it's the energy of expect the unexpected, which is interesting if you're trying to manifest it all, because you often want to be in a place of positive expectation, but you also, if you are expecting something to happen and you're supposed to expect the unexpected, well, how do you how do you expect something that, or how do you even say it? It's such a funny thing to think about. It's been on my mind a fair amount the last couple of weeks. Is like, how do you expect the unexpected in a positive way without having to go into a negative space and like expecting bad things to happen, because you don't want to expect bad things to happen in order to get good things to happen, because then you send out to the universe that you're in a vibration of bad things happening, and then the unexpected things that you should expect end up being contrasts that may be more challenging than needed to be. It's interesting, the dog barking, especially while saying that. It's because a UPS truck came by. There's been a lot of energy of FedEx trucks and UPS trucks lately, also moving trucks and moving pods, things like that. And new house energy has been a lot of houses going up. In any case, so the sun in Scorpio, there's definitely, because it's associated with the death card, a lot of transformational energy, like butterfly energy. And so, in more than one form, we're going to see deaths and rebirths. And those can take place in all sorts of manners. What I've been practicing in this moment is trying to just be in a vibration of joyful amazement, because even, in fact, especially I can get stuck in feeling like I know what is right, and that can become more of a challenge when you do like tarot readings or you have psychic abilities, because you get a lot of people telling you that you're right. And I mean, you don't have to watch the ego, but I like to watch the ego on that. I don't want my head to get too big about it. And I've already had enough patterns in my life of just genuinely trying to like caution people about something ahead, and it's come across like I just know everything. And in many cases I do, but I was listening to a reader the other day that was talking about, if you're in a place where you feel like you know it all, whether you are often right or not, then you don't leave a lot of room for spirit to amaze you, and I know usually there's one of two. Usually most people are one of two things: either I hate surprises or I love surprises. And I've always tried to practice being in the, you know what, I love good surprises, because nobody likes a bad surprise and everybody likes a good surprise, right? um, which is interesting. I just had a vision that a lot of the past readings that I've been doing have been about the karmic carnival and the funhouse mirrors. And I think what I'm sensing is that, especially over the next 48 hours, I want to say especially tomorrow on the 7th, and yeah, up to 11:11 and even maybe 11:20, I think that we're going to find, this will be kind of funny. It'll be like if you went through the karmic carnival, and in the mirrors, instead of seeing yourself, you saw everybody else, and they were all sorts of distorted. Maybe you thought that your friends were your enemies or your enemies were your friends, things like that. Like we have the moon card energy, which is interesting too, because right now we have the moon in Cancer, and that is the moon card. And often it's hidden enemies, and it can be them being revealed or it can be them remaining hidden. And it especially has to do with emotions and cycles and things like that, including pain cycles and faith cycles, healing cycles. So, yeah, like if you're looking in the funhouse mirrors and you were seeing other people, maybe people that you have always known to be very emotionally stable went nuts. Maybe people who are usually very emotionally unstable were very grounded. And again, maybe you find that friends and lovers you thought were enemies or trying to control you were the opposite, and those who were actually trying to control you or interfere in things were masquerading. Sorry, there's a card later, you'll see why that's relevant, but maybe they were masquerading as your friends, as those who just wanted to help you and protect you and things like that. And with Scorpio energy, there's a big theme of that too, the word protection and protector, because it's a scorpion. So, and I'm reminded of that parable about the frog and the scorpion. Like, it's funny too, because I know two versions of that. The most common one is that the scorpion tricks the frog into taking it across, and then, well, either in the middle, it stings the frog and says, "Well, I'm a scorpion, that's what I do," and then they both die. Or there's another version, so I guess there's three. There's another one where it gets near enough to the end of the shore that the scorpion can go off onto land, and it stings the frog just in time to do that, and then the frog dies and the scorpion gets to walk off and is like, what? I'm a scorpion, that's what I do. And then in the last one that I've heard, which you don't hear passed around very often, is that the scorpion and the frog get across and the scorpion doesn't sting the frog, and the frog is surprised and is like, why didn't you sting me? Like, I kind of thought that's what scorpions do. And the scorpion said something along the lines of, well, you get what you give, and you were kind to me, so I was kind to you. You know? But I've kind of had this vision in that of that I'm a scorpion, that's what I do. And I kind of feel like that either either you or someone else, or maybe many of you, might have kind of an attitude like that. There might be somebody that kind of says that, like, I want to say on both sides because Scorpio's a lot to do with shadow and light. So on one side, it could very much be like, well, I'm a scorpion, that's what I do. Like maybe somebody in your life has repeatedly stung you, and then you give them another chance and they sting you again, and you're like, what the fuck? And they're like, well, I'm a scorpion, that's what I do. And then on the other side of that, like Scorpio energy is deeply healing energy too. And it often is associated with shamanic work, especially with the death card, because a lot of times when we go through like a spiritual awakening or initiation, we we kind of die first. It's not necessarily a physical death, but it can, I mean, depending on how it goes for you, you could feel like that, and including ascension flu and all sorts of parts of your body not working the way that they have, which can be confusing depending on your age too, because some of that could just be aging. um, but it could be that you might have somebody in your life even that you recognize did more for you than you ever realized, and maybe you thought that they were an enemy or a frenemy or that they were trying to hurt you, and then it's revealed that that wasn't true, and you say something to them like, wow, thank you for being brave or doing the hard thing, or for, I don't know, being willing to be the bad guy maybe. uh, and they look at you and they're like, well, what? I'm a scorpion, that's what I do. Right, I heal. And if I remember correctly too, I believe scorpion venom, well, I'm not, you know what, I'm gonna have to double check this, but I know with like snake venom, it's, you know, the antidote to a snake bite, to the poison, is the same poison, but I'm not 100% sure in how they turn it into an antidote. It reminds me, I've always wanted to look that up. If anybody knows, I'd love to hear that in the comments below. But I know that it's very homeopathic. And so maybe it is that you'll find even that you got stung by somebody who you thought was the first bite, but then as we move into the momentum of what I'm calling the great unraveling, as after the karmic carnival, that maybe you find out that actually you were bit first by something else or someone else or yourself even, and that the person that bit you actually gave you the anti-venom. I've also heard some other readers talking a fair amount about snake energy, and I've seen it come up synchronistically in other conversations. And I just want to say, I mean, yes, snakes can definitely be a sign of like a predator or a warning, or um, I don't want to say evil spirits, but they can be in there. But just like Scorpios often misunderstood, so are snakes. And sometimes snakes are actually there as your protector, your warning bell, or to clear energy for you, things like that. You know, it's definitely well worth, I don't know, learning about them. Both scorpions and snakes. Okay, now back to what the book says. So it says, this card of deep passions, intense emotions, chaotic people, secrecy, manipulation, and at its worst, aggression and conflict. A passionate chapter is present or about to begin. This may be related to a phase in your life that is transformational, as you progress from one circumstance to another. A completely new approach to life due to profound developments will unfold. Rest assured, you can rise like a phoenix from the ashes of dramatic circumstances. which is definitely, death card. I think that's what I usually call it. Yes, phoenix moments. Like, and oftentimes they're emotional when like so many things coalesce around us, especially if we've allowed ourselves to be in toxic situations, and they all just come together and seem like they're like bearing down upon us. Then we have phoenix moments where we cannot, there's nothing we can do not to face the emotions, and the longer we've been running from them, the more likely they are to build up, and then especially to that we end up pushing away those that were trying to help us, or weren't trying to, I don't know, like if they weren't as available, that they weren't trying to not be available, things like that. Which, if that happens and you do that, recognize that those people are probably forgiving about it. Um, it's definitely a good time to work on boundaries too, though. The frog and the scorpion thing is definitely, now they think about, a good parable about boundaries, you know. Anyways, yes, so an all consuming relationship and a charming or attractive person may be the center of great change in your life. Maintain a level headed approach to people, or your passions, emotions, and overindulgence in food, wine, alcohol, or drugs may become all consuming. Maintain a clear mind and avoid obsessive or destructive thoughts and actions. Make efforts to be centered and seek to be calm. Channel energy into constructive pursuits and work off excess energy at the gym or the beach. It's a little cold around here for the beach thing, but being around water would be good. You will feel passionate about an interest or a venture. Aim to see the bigger picture and be ready to attain a deeper understanding of the mysteries of life and the subtle and powerful energy that propels your self development. This is also a card of karmic connections. A karmic relationship is best navigated carefully, as there is a soul connection that will last throughout eternity. The relationship may well be wonderful and fulfilling, but if it is destructive or coercive, the choice may be taken to end the karmic cycle in a pleasant, matter of fact way. Avoid creating negative karma by focusing on the good in both yourself and all those you interact with. And remember, again, like, karma isn't like necessarily the punishment. Just like a karmic partner is not always a negative partner. Sometimes sometimes a karmic partner is someone who comes in and teaches you how to love, or how to be loved, right? And then the next lesson would be how to love and things like that. But karmic relationships can be either, and they can include twin flame relationships or have nothing to do with them. But it's about what contrast are we calling in. What are we asking to learn? What are we praying for? What are our thoughts most consistently on, you know? Okay, so today and through part of tomorrow, we have the moon in Cancer. It's a really pretty card. We'll see if it'll show up. Oh, you can kind of see it. No, no. Oh, I see. If I block the camera, then you can see it. It's still not. There's very beautiful indigos and purples and lavenders on there. We have a sailboat. Interestingly enough, the sail card came up in a different one. Almost like a destination vacation. It says a sensitive, introspective phase, belonging. And belonging is in pink. Kind of like that. I don't know if you can quite see it. And it's card number 16, which, wow, interesting. That's usually associated with the tower. But when we break it down to number 7, it's associated with the chariot card, which is also a Cancer card, and it's about victory. So the moon in Cancer, I haven't read this one yet. This is a good time to consider the next phase of your life concerning family, property, or domestic circumstances. Consider your sense of belonging. Consider your sense of belonging. Thank you, Mercury. Acceptance and understanding of your needs and requirements and those of someone else will be necessary and beneficial moving forward. A parent, child, or property will require a fresh perspective on living arrangements moving further into the future. A building project, DIY, or home decorating can flourish. You may be ready to upgrade or to downsize depending on your situation. Your domestic circumstances are likely to be led by emotional concerns just now. What do you really need in your home, and does it provide you with that? If not, ask how you can create more stability in your home life. A nesting process may be underway. Perhaps you would like to grow your family. And I've been noticing some of that energy coming into, not just with myself, but with many others. Nesting energy it's often associated with pregnancy, but we all go through the cycles, and it's irregardless of gender. It's usually when we start cleaning up our space. And it's also, we can start to create like little nests of things, memorabilia, or even often one of the things that helps me with my ADHD in cleaning up is remembering that the space we allow to have around ourselves, if we, such a dichotomy of thoughts. Thank you, Moon and Cancer. Dualities. So oftentimes we can have, like, if our space is really, really messy, it can indicate that we're feeling messy inside. And so to clean up the space around you can help you to help clear that energy so that you can work on the mess in you. The other thing I was thinking though is that sometimes we get opposite and we like neurotically clean, to try to help ourselves not feel messy inside, but then it just distracts from how messy inside we feel and really are. So it's kind of both in there. Emotionally, a peak is being reached. If you're in sync with your emotions, this is a fulfilling time. Parenting and your relationship with your parents may prove particularly fulfilling. You may, at very least, find yourself spending more time focusing on matters to do with parents or parenting. If you're focusing on matters, if your emotions are topsy-turvy, consider balancing them with the help of an expert such as a healthcare professional or through meditation. This card can signify deepening psychic and mystical experiences. Dreams may become more frequent or clear. You may even experience wow, premonitionary. I can't say that word. Premonitions is what it is. Dreams that foretell the future, or wish to deepen your understanding of the occult. The spiritually minded will reach deep realizations. This is your time to blossom and gain deeper understanding of yourself, those you love, in your life, and your path in life. You may have strong intuitive and psychic abilities. This is an excellent time to step up to the next level with these abilities. And I would say that there's probably some emphasis on that if you have your sun, moon, or rising in Cancer. The next one I'm going to read, I don't typically do this many moon cards, but we're shifting into the moon in Leo. Sorry about that interruption. Um, life and stuff. So I was reading the Moon in Leo card. Interestingly enough, though, I've been having a theme of cold hands, and normally I wouldn't attribute that to something that may be coming up in a reading, but it just feels like it is now. It may be that the space you normally hang out in is now cold, and you don't have heat, and you might have very cold hands, or maybe even cold feet at night in bed, and you're like missing having somebody that warms your feet. Also, when I found my gloves, because they've been missing, it's been really weird. I could not find them for the last couple of days. I found them now. I decided to grab a little stuffy that I've had in with me. A friend made him, and he's been a good friend to me while making it through a lot of emotional stuff. Um, I just call him Green Dude. That's the best I got. But it's funny. I don't know that I don't honestly remember what it was like sleeping with stuffies as a kid, but I do know mostly it was just cuddling with them. And it's funny because he had two button eyes. I love his hair, but they fell out, and the string is here, and I just leave it there. But some sort of comfort, I think, is going to be a theme, especially over the next 48 hours. It's 4:04 now, and I was thinking about how 13, the death card, when you break it down, it's four, which is the emperor. So I generally think of like that transformational energy. I mean, it's neither masculine or feminine, but because of the association with four, it goes into emperor type energy. And four is a number of stabilities also. Just stabilities. Interesting. I meant stability, but maybe it's multiple stabilities. Maybe over the next 48 hours, we're going to see multiple situations that were priorly unstable stabilizing. But either way, practice self-care and don't be bothered by what anybody else thinks about it, and do what makes you feel comfortable. Also, there was something that I was listening to in the way that did remind me too. I mean, as a part of karma, well, here's the funny thing. I mean, usually we ask to heal, and when we ask to heal, a lot of times things break first, and it's mostly spirit showing us how to heal ourselves, because real healing is self-healing. And sometimes when that happens, we can end up calling in ancestral healing too, or generational healing. And that can end up like our karma then becomes us being faced with everything that we've been doing. And especially like if you think of yourself as, I don't know, like think about how you feel cursed in your life, which can be very, we still have a lot of Saturn and Capricorn energy, and with Scorpio that can kind of be in there too. Like how do we feel cursed, or what kinds of curses do we feel we carry either through our families or others? Like we may be faced with hurting others in the ways that we were hurt. Um, yeah, I was gonna say, or the opposite, that we feel like we're being hurt in the way that we have hurt others. But oftentimes it is the act of being hurt in the way that we hurt someone else that causes us to realize how we have been hurting others in the same way. But what I was listening to was talking about how, like, you know, if you've been overdoing it in any way, especially if you've asked for healing and you genuinely want to have a better life, then one of the first things that might start happening, it may have already started, or it may start in the next 48 hours with the beginning of the great unraveling, is that first you get hit with all the ways that you've not healed, and like you bring up energy from ancestors that come in to help you learn that, like learn to reflect and see yourself and things like that. So there might be some of that, and because of the ancestor part of it too, it may have a fair amount to do with our parents, and reflecting how we are as parents and how their parents were to them. And I know that's already been a theme throughout this year, and I mean pretty much a life theme: mother, father, childhood wounds. We all have some in different shapes, scents, and colors. Anyways, so let's get back to this. No, not Moon in Cancer. Moon in Leo. What did I do with the card? Oh, it's over there. Okay. I'm just going to start over with it. So your your profile, Moon and Leo, heroism. Let your inner hero out. What an interesting theme, especially because I was noticing over like the last week a lot of amped up savior syndrome energy. So there might be some of that, and there might actually be some heroics. That'll be interesting. So this starts kind of the middle of the day on the 7th and goes into the 8th and part of the 9th of November. So Moon and Leo, card number 17, associated with the star card, which it's usually associated with Aquarius, but it can be associated with Leo because it's a star, you know, big hot ball of fire. So heroism, let your inner hero out. Your profile, it's so funny. I spaced out because I wanted to look at what the card had on it, and of course it's an astronaut. How fitting. With red water. Interesting. I saw some memes that had to do with red water. Also, 17 simplifies to 8, and that is strength energy again. Oh, wow. So we've got that twice. That could be a big theme in there, being the sun, number 8, and Leo, number 8. Also, there may be some amplified effects if you are like an Enneagram 8 type, or, you know, someone who is, maybe for them. You never know. Or even that energy, which can be very Scorpio too. I mean, it can be very, very deeply healing. It can also be very, very aggressive and vengeful and things like that. So be aware of that. Leo energy can be like that too on both sides. So your profile, kudos, and self-esteem can blossom now. Invest time in yourself. Promote your abilities to be a peacock. Celebrate. I saw pictures of peacock feathers earlier, so that could be another big theme. You may be at your peak, so enjoy being respected and the center of attention. In other words, you're a hero. You are at the top of your game, riding the crest of a wave, fulfilling your needs to shine as brightly as you can. Be aware there are two sides to being a hero. You must have reached a goal, but you must guard against vanity, laziness, and pride. It doesn't take much to fall from grace. You can give birth to a new circumstance, but must take nothing for granted. Leaner times may lie ahead. With careful planning, you can achieve your goals and retain success. Avoid competitiveness and one-upmanship, as these could lead to a false sense of self-importance and ultimately to your downfall. A strong sense of gratitude and compassion for others will promote your talents in a positive light and add to the cycle of ever increasing good fortune. You may feel particularly creative and wish to shout your ideas from the rooftops. You may also feel particularly generous, but it's important that your generosity is channeled into worthy causes, or you risk squandering your finances and wasting good intentions on unworthy causes, or being taken advantage of. The peacock in you may wish to show off, but if your exuberance threatens others, your position may be the subject of jealousy and your rivals may feel provoked to teach you a lesson. So ensure you maintain perspective and balance. See, I love how that, thank you, Moon and Leah, like that there's different timelines to that of being a hero, being like a genuine hero and a false hero even. And it does fit in with the scorpion and the frog thing where you could have somebody who like stings you and leaves you high and dry and you're like, what did you do? I just helped you and you just screwed me over. And they're like, what? I'm a Scorpio, that's what I do. Or scorpion, sorry to my, I love Scorpios, so please no, sorry, so I'm a scorpion, that's what I do. And then on the other side you may get like stung by a scorpion who realizes that you needed the antidote, and you're like, wow, how did you know, like how did you know that I needed that and that it would heal me? And they're like, I'm a scorpion, that's what I do. you know. And that's all in there, which is very interesting. Now, with that and the Cancer moon, and they're right, two signs right up next to each other, there's definitely amplification on family and things like that. But, just my my intention is to focus on what I'm grateful for and joyful amazement. Like, don't worry about whether you're succeeding right now or not, whether you're winning or losing or not. Just focus on feeling good in the moment. And joyful amazement is a great way. I've already been seeing little manifestations of it, and it doesn't have to be big. That's the nice thing. It's the cherry on top. And it's a good time to do self care habits like writing gratitude lists and things like that. And that can be, it's often suggested to do that when you're feeling like really big anxiety, which is good. But it can also be a good time to practice such a thing when you're feeling like you are on top of the world, or that you know everything, or even just to get yourself into a good alignment just as a regular practice. And you can start with things that are very simple, like I'm grateful for the clean air to breathe. I'm grateful for a cold garage to sit in. I'm grateful for a lovely and delightfully absurd crocheted doll from a friend. I'm grateful for a hat. I'm grateful for the ability to laugh. I'm grateful for the ability of love after pain. You know, but you can go as small as simple as you want. I'm grateful for this pen. I'm grateful for lawnmowers. But it's a good regular practice, and it can help keep you from excess on either side, from either being like super blissed out and letting fame go to your head, and it can also help you from going into and coming out of downward spikes. Spikles, interesting. I meant to say spirals, but it's interesting. Spikles kind of seems associated with like pain cycles because they can be sharp and almost double as much if we're really praying to get help. Or it is kind of fitting with the anti venom theme too, like the spike on the scorpion stinger. Okay, so next I'm going to go for the homophone cards. Now, interestingly enough, because I wasn't sure how it would be relevant, but I kept the bottom card on the deck there, and it was Sail in reverse. And I wasn't necessarily going to really even mention it, but because it came up in the Moon Cards book, it feels like it's fairly relevant. Now, with that Sail card in it reverse, it could be that maybe you had intended to travel or go somewhere or do something like that, and that doesn't happen. Or maybe somebody who was supposed to leave your house is not going. Or even like because of the colors and because it's Sail, it could be that maybe a message was supposed to come to you that does not come and you don't know the circumstances. It could, because of dissociation with water, it could be emotional imbalances, or maybe somebody's supposed to come see you and then they cancel, or Maybe they can't even tell you that they were going to come, and so then you don't even know that they were supposed to come. Like something like that. Definitely another good reason to be in um, energy of joyful amazement and being open to all outcomes and just, be grateful no matter what happens. So the other cards that we got, the first one was Scent, and it's an upright. We got this one some weeks ago in reverse, and it felt like not one red scent. Because the word is red. It's funny because not all the words are red. Like this one is flower and it's pink. You know what I'm feeling called to is, I think part of this is the energy of the elections, but I feel like when somebody says, I don't even have a penny to my name, in upright it feels like somebody's saying, I only have a penny to my name. It's all I got. It's absolutely all I got, and it's not much. Um, but I'm starting with it. I'm starting with one penny, so maybe there's the energy of small steps, little steps. And remember, small steps are still steps. You can start with a penny. You can start with a step. You can start with a sorry. You can start with a you can just start. It just seems like a start. And the God, in God we trust. So I mean, that's trusting spirit, having faith, and having to do with liberty. This penny is a 2018 penny. So we got High Priestess, the Moon, and 11. That's fitting. Justice card. So it may be a time even of freedom for those that are on a twin flame journey and or just practicing becoming a divine feminine just because why not? And that's generally to do with Virgo. 18 is the moon, which is related to Cancer. Ain't that funny? Cancer moon going on. And I mean, again, it's both about, well, it's about faith in general. I think that's maybe why it has to do with both hidden friends and hidden enemies, which is also fitting of Scorpio energy. Hmm. And I think lastly, because it's Abe, I'm getting the sense of honest Abe. And remember, no person is free of lying, so it could be that somebody around you is acting like honest Abe and you catch them in lies, or it could be that you felt like someone was lying to you or deceiving you and you find out that they're actually what we mean when we say honest Abe. There might also be some sort of an incident with a cherry tree, or there may be themes of cherry trees. I know that that's not associated with Lincoln, but it popped into my head. Or maybe it is associated with Lincoln because a lot of us mix up the presidents, but that's more to do with Washington. It's still something to do with cherry trees. The next one was flower, and I had only intended to pull two cards. I don't typically do three for the next 48, but two of them jumped out. The two that jumped out together, interestingly enough, were flower and ant in reverse. I feel like the reverse is relevant in with these two cards too, which is flower and ant, as in like what you bake with and what most people would consider a pest. So maybe that you have someone that feels like a small pest, or maybe you have an ant infestation, or some other. It could be mice or rats or things like that, and it could be in the pantry, or it could have to do with that, or maybe you have some argument about that, or mm, maybe you decide to bake with that cricket flour that they make now, or maybe it's made out of ants. I don't know. You'll have to let me know. But on the sides that popped up, we have flower as in sunflower and ant as in like your mother's sister in reverse. And the sunflower is typically associated with the Queen of Wands, which is about having healthy boundaries, but also being open hearted and heart forward. Like the Queen of Wands is charming and sassy, and she knows how to play. There's a fair amount of Leo energy in there, And she can be the center of attention a lot of times, and it seems like she commands it easily. But part of the reason that she's able to do that is because she has healthy boundaries, like that she's the queen of wands, and wands are often about boundaries, and boundaries are all about thoughts too. Like, you can't have healthy boundaries if when you tell someone no, you feel like a jerk. um, and the trick to that isn't not having boundaries, it's in stop telling yourself you're a jerk when you have boundaries, which it's taken me a long time to be able to get there. So, the same thing with self care. Like, if you don't put your self care at priority, you can't care for anyone else no matter how much you want to. And you have to change the mindset so that you start recognizing that having good self-care practices allows you to do the things with the people that you want, especially if you have anybody around you that needs you. But there could be a theme of that. Sunflowers themselves are even kind of a boundary, just considering how they grow. Um, just be a theme with having boundaries. And also, I'm being called that, that sunflowers, they follow the sun, they follow the warmth of the sun, and the UV light, which is hidden to our human eyes. And so I think that really very much fits in with the faith theme and things like that, and kind of that follow your heart sort of energy in a way, but follow the warmth. Go where it's warm. And that might even, it might be that where we thought we were warm feels cold, and it turns out not to be where the warmth is. Maybe that's something that's revealed where we thought we were getting warmth and nourishment, and doing what spirit was telling us or what our heart felt like. Maybe that's not it. And then on the other side, maybe um, maybe we've been neglecting our garden or something, with some like karmic feminine energy, and which, that can kind of be it. When we're in negative or distorted feminine energy, we can often overwater things, and we can overcare. We can end up emasculating guys trying to help too much and things like that. Hmm. Either way, go where it feels warm. Even if it ends up feeling cold, even if you end up on the reverse sail beach and it ends up just not being good, you'll still learn something. So go where it feels warm to you. And that might be around somebody who's a Queen of Wands sort, or it may be that it's time for you to take on the Queen of Wands energy. I think the Aunt in reverse is mostly just distorted feminine energy. It's likely to be a duality of maybe we're worrying about some sort of conflict with another feminine, or because I mean, and look at her, like she's kind of doing this like I told you so kind of look, or like don't you do that, right? Or even like shame on you kind of thing, which can be motherly energy. But it could be, maybe we were worried about being told off by a feminine, and they weren't actually in that energy, or maybe that does happen. Um, Definitely like I mean, sister and aunt, or aunt, sorry, energy in there. I think that a lot of that I'll just leave open because there's a lot of different ways that could be in there. But definitely make sure that we're checking ourselves. We all have human moments. It's okay to have moments and either assume that someone is wrong when they were right, or to assume someone is right when they were wrong, and to get into our distorted feminine energy to try to help too much, to get passive aggressive and like do this like, well, fine, I'm not going to help you kind of thing. Try to be in a balanced place. I mean, you might have to set some boundaries that you hadn't set before, where you say no, no, that's not acceptable, or but say it to yourself. Don't be saying it to anyone else. I think maybe that's the main theme of it. Like, if you find yourself feeling like you want to tell somebody else how they should or shouldn't be doing it, that's not necessarily wrong or right, but turn the finger around. Look at, is what you're doing wrong or right? How much of your own karmic cycles have you been facing and doing? It's never all done, even if you've done a lot of it. But hearing dog bark again and other dogs, so it could be maybe there's some arguments, some verbal arguments or something, or maybe some sort of like back and forth communication of barking. Maybe you'll get calls or messages of some kind. Um, what card do I want to go for next? I'm going to go for the Rider Waite cards next. And what we got, and I guess it's fitting. Okay, so this is kind of funny. So this is the Nine of Pentacles. Sorry, yeah, Nine of Pentacles in reverse, and the Aunt in reverse. I could kind of see that energy too being codependent energy. So check yourself for that and recognize that anybody who may, well, okay, so if you're feeling like going after somebody and telling them off for something or saying I told you so or don't do it or something like that, recognize that you may be entangled in something codependent. And likewise, anybody that's coming towards you to do that, I mean, take in what they have to say. It's good to check yourselves. But if you know that you've been listening to spirit and you've been working on things, and especially if you're practicing being an energy of gratitude and joyful amazement, then recognize that sometimes like in the moon and Leo card, sometimes our rivals, not our rivals, people who consider themselves our rivals, like if we're successful in doing things in a positive way, sometimes that can create envy in others, and it may be that they try to make you feel bad, like if you've been practicing good boundaries or spoken your truth or something like that, like they may want to um, try to knock you down to their level. And always recognize, no matter where you are in your cycles, you can always get to a higher vibration. It literally takes less than 30 seconds, and doing those gratitude lists can help you get there and stay there. And just stay there. You don't have to respond to like catcalling or anything else, and you don't have to assume that anybody else is doing it either. If that trigger is in there, look within and see why you feel called back and forth. But it could be that, well, I don't know, like if somebody's, I don't know, being like this, which is codependent, and because of the earth energy, it can be passive aggressive. It can also just be straight aggressive. It can be very bullying, things like that, very emotional, which maybe some of us will be releasing old codependent energies, and that will help get here to the independent, emotionally secure energy, which is also the single woman card. Or it could be that we're faced with those that are in this energy and trying to get us down there with them. Either way, it's likely to do with a financial situation of some kind. Some people associate this card also with a pregnant woman, but that doesn't necessarily mean pregnancy is involved. It could just be motherly energy, women with children, things like that. I've never really seen this before, but in this card, there's two trees, and they're each in the background. I was just thinking it's kind of like the High Priestess card, and even the Moon card, which has the two towers separating. And because it's reversed, it could be maybe a split in families, family trees, and things like that. Maybe where you once shared family with someone, now you don't. Or maybe if you were with one family, now you're with the other, and well, if it was upright, I would say it could be two families coexisting peacefully. But in reverse, it could be that this is two families that do not exist peacefully together. And it's not just, there is more distorted feminine energy in there, but it could be a masculine in such a situation. And recognize, because we're in the great unraveling, it makes sense that we are challenged to look at our codependent energy, to own our own BS, and to find fulfillment in ourselves, not to expect somebody else to bring it to us or prove it to us or things like that. Now, the other card that we got, Eight of Wands. So we have more wand energy in here. Definitely a theme of boundaries already. Wow, I just saw 48:48 on the clock. I'm surprised I've been talking that long. We are almost done, though. So Eight of Wands is about feeling, well, it's kind of the last man standing, which is very interesting considering we've had a fair amount of masculine energy, but not in the direct. It's been more in the energy of it, but we definitely have distorted feminine energy in there, which is like the funhouse mirrors. If Yeah, it makes sense, actually, in thinking of a theme. A lot of us have either felt distorted, misrepresented, things like that, or it has been that we've been seeing others in a distorted way or ourselves in a distorted way. So the Eight of Wands is interesting. So it's mainly masculine energy. It's kind of about being the last one standing. And because it's wands, which also have to do with communication, you may receive communication from somebody. Now that I think about it, it's kind of got two single energies. So it may be that there's some communication from a single man who has fought very, very hard to get to that position. Um, or it may be that someone who's in that position isn't speaking up. They're very wounded. He's holding one of the wands kind of like a cane or a crutch, too. So it could be somebody that has a little literal energy like that. And it's also the wounded healer card, too. And oftentimes it reminds me of those moments when, well, when we get knocked off our high horse and our ego energy, a part of our ego dies, which is kind of what Phoenix moments are. And it's even in relationship to the Scorpio card, to the Death card, and shamanism, which is the wounded healer. Sometimes that death is our ego, and then we remember ourselves and we remember who we are. So this is why it's not always bad to allow yourself human emotions, including sometimes not being a very kind person. I don't recommend it a lot, and I try to avoid it too, but there are good moments in it. The seed needs the darkness in order to germinate, and the coldness too, to germinate and crack open, and it needs the warmth to send down roots and send up shoots, and that's how it continues on. So recognize sometimes even in your own venomous moments you can be giving others the antidote, and that if it wasn't that and that you were actually the venomous one, then you can learn and grow from those moments. So it's definitely the energy of singleness, though, whether you're masculine or feminine. You could feel like you're healing, like you've learned some interesting lessons and are kind of looking back at how things are. That would also be more fire sign energy. So we've definitely got Earth, so Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo, and with the wands, more Leo energy, and Aries and Sagittarius in there. And with the dogs barking too. I want to say it's probably largely to do with dogs' energy in terms of loyalty and friendship and the pack and things like that. And with them barking, it's often not a barking dog that you need to worry about. It's a quiet one. The ones that are barking are telling you, don't come near me, or I'm protecting my yard, or I'm doing this, things like that. But it's the ones that are quiet, that not to say that a quiet dog is a bad dog, but if you're faced with a dog that is like being aggressive but it's being quiet, those are typically the more dangerous ones. Usually they're either too afraid to bark at you or something, and they're more likely to actually take a nip at you because they're very afraid of you. And so there's some of that energy. There's also, what is the proverb or the parable? It's their bark is worse than their bite, sort of thing, which could have to do with boundaries also. Like their bark is worse than their bite, or maybe, I don't know, there may even be people that we're faced with that we need to apologize to or talk to, and maybe they're like, verbally they can say a lot of things, but really their bark is worse than their bite, and they probably aren't going to bite anyways. So I don't know. Leo energy is definitely that don't be so afraid, but mixed in with Cancer and Scorpio energy too, there are pinching and stingings going on. Hmm. Interesting energies so far. Oh, and on the bottom of the deck, I should just say this, Four of Cups in reverse, which actually it's both an emotional breakthrough, and I heard recently that it can often mean, like, so in this direct direction, it can be having more than you need and refusing some. It can also be refusing to listen to your intuition or kind of being in a bratty, like, I don't want it sort of mood. But in reverse, actually, it can often mean an emotional breakthrough, and it can also mean heartfelt communications and things like that. But it can also mean kicking over all of your cups. Like if you have been doing anything in excess, which could be thinking, it could be wishing others ill, it could be, well, even overindulging in spiritual stuff or bliss stuff, things like that. It can be overindulgence to the point to where everything gets kicked over. Oh wow, that's funny. Right underneath that was the moon card in reverse, which can also be revealing hidden enemies and removing of masks, which also plays a part. On the shamanic deck that we have the lower world and the past. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's okay. Enjoy the contrast. Usually my videos aren't too bad in the contrast. I mean, a lot of this is about, well, it's more like death card energy, and with the vulture in there, you know, it's partly being the vulture, like helping to pick up, you know, the leftovers. Like they'll eat the bones and things too, like that, and they play an important part in that. And then what they excrete helps fertilize, and so like they're a part of the circle of life in that way. It can also be about allowing ourselves to be picked apart. Like just let it all go. Just release it all. Take it all off me. Take my bones too. And some of us may feel like that, you know, just take it all. Just fine, just take it. You know, it can also be. I mean, it's predatory, so watch out. And it could be predatory in a way of scavengers. There might also be some like thievery energy, so be aware of that over the next 48 hours. And also, like lower world can often be about learning to connect with our, well, with the earth and with our past in new ways and healing ways. And there's a dark cave in it, so we might feel like we're in a dark cave. But there's a lot of roots coming down too, and recognize that sometimes going into the dark, embracing our darkness, doing our shadow work, that's what creates the roots. Like when you do your shadow work, when you face things, when you neither blame yourself or anyone else, when you're in acceptance of things, that's when your roots really grow and become strong. And they're not just like plant roots, they're, I wouldn't say they could be like birch tree roots, but they're aged tree roots. And so there's probably coming stability in that. The Eight of Wands is also like that, especially in upright. Like we may feel wounded. We may be emotional, feeling like the last one standing and things like that. But we're also usually much more rooted and much less like he's. If you look, he's got. I just knocked over a cup. There might be some energy in that. Watch out. Cups breaking or getting knocked over or messes being revealed. But if you look, it's a good example of what healthy boundaries should look like. He doesn't have them so lined up that you can't see anything through them, but he's got them lined up enough that if somebody tried to come up and like knock him over, he could defend himself. Because boundaries are not meant to be rigid and inflexible, and in fact, that can end up hurting us. But when they are flexible but not porous, then you know, yeah, like you might end up giving someone a chance and seeing if you have good boundaries, you can start to see when you need to firm up your boundaries or when you need to be more open with them. You know, there's different layers of it. And typically, consistency, even with boundaries, we think of it as like, I'm always going to be this way. It's not always like that. It can be if that works for you and you like it, but we're, we deal with all sorts of different humans, and a lot of us have gone through such trauma cycles and pain cycles that it takes us a little while to be able to deal with other people's healthy boundaries. And when they're practicing them in a healthy way, sometimes being flexible, other times being firm, it can even come across as inconsistency, and that can be whole nother world when you're not used to it. Which is often why they say too, when you first start holding boundaries, you might lose a fair amount of people, or you might be vilified, or you might be looked at as being prudish and things like that. And then the life theme of being a Capricorn on top of that. But when you hold them and you're not always firm, but you're not always flexible either. You just hold them in a healthy way, then you actually end up giving a good example of how to do that to others, and you end up giving them permission to do it too. And those who are meant to stick around learn to appreciate those boundaries. They go through their own experiences and go, oh, like I get it, I see that. And then you give them the modeling that they need to be able to hold their own healthy boundaries. And because it's wands, it's definitely communication energy in there. Now, last but not least, wow, this is an extra long video. I was going to just do one of these Divine Circus cards, but there was one on the bottom that really stuck out to me. I think it might be an underlying energy, but I'm going to read the one that came out for us over the next 48, and then we'll go from there. Now, remember I said I ended up accidentally using the word masquerade and then was talking about masks, so the card that we got, the Maven of Masks, and she's got herself, I mean, a violin for, I like to think of fiddles, but she's got herself a violin, and she's got all sorts of masks around her. She's got the, I call it the anonymous rat mask. I think it's called something else, but she's got that in there. She's got a skull mask. She's got what looks kind of like more of a circus mask, and the drama faces, the I don't know if it's like surprise and sad or things like that, but she's got it in there. The moon is behind her, so definitely moon energy is more prevalent again. And there's some kind of shadow behind her. It's hard to make out what it is. It's probably intentionally done that way. I'm kind of seeing like one of the, like a Greek hero type in the background, like with both of his arms up and he's flexing. And maybe like riding on an elephant or something. Maybe there's theme with masculines standing in their truth, facing the elephant in the room. I don't know, or finally riding it rather than being trampled on. But the Mask of Mavens, or the Mask of Mavens, the Maven of Masks. Like a maven is somebody who is not necessarily an expert, but they're very skilled in what they do. And if we're thinking about somebody who is a maven of masks, maybe it is somebody who is very good at wearing masks. And there can be two sides of that too, just like a superhero and a villain wear masks. And boy, doesn't that fit into our themes too, of all those moon cards and those other cards. I love it when readings turn out like this. But it could be that we find ourselves being faced with those who are mavens of masks in terms of being master manipulators, putting on different masks, kind of being a chimera or a changeling of sorts. And that came up when I was doing some meditation on this reading beforehand too. So the other side of that is that it could be somebody who puts on a mask and does heroic things, or maybe somebody who is, maybe they used to be a maven of masks and they were in karmic energy, and then in like divine feminine energy, or then this could be masculine too, because and plenty of men are divine feminines and vice versa. So like apply it where it feels right for your life. But it could be that maybe you thought that they were the manipulator, and you find out that they weren't, but they did use some of the, like, the drama masks, like, oh, like, oh, you want some drama? I'll give you a little drama. How about a climactic ending or something like that? Like, I don't know. um, Interesting. She's got really frilly, lacy sleeves. I'm going to call it that. And she definitely has kind of the Harlequin energy about her. She's card number 44, which, oh, there's our 8 theme again, too. So, and with all this coming in, it might be 8s versus 8s, which is kind of fitting. It's also fitting with Scorpio energy and Leo energy. And but what I mean by that is typically the Enneagram type 8, which it's good to look up the healthy and unhealthy aspects of that. It's also making me think about the 8 card in the homophones deck, which I'm never sure whether I feel like it's a magic 8 ball or a billiard 8 ball, but either way it suggests games. And maybe, I mean, we'll have to read this, but maybe this maven is kind of maybe it's a revealing of those who are playing games in a negative way and those who are playing games in a positive way. It's interesting too being the Maven of Masks because she's got this facial expression. You know, it's funny because her mouth kind of has a smirk, but her eyes are kind of emotionless. Even the way that she has her face paint on and does her eyebrows is very emotionless. But she's got her hair done up in a very almost like intentionally messy way. She has a ring on her finger. Yeah, it's on that side, so this might be somebody that is like a spouse position of some kind. And because the card has a lot of darkness in it and not a whole lot of color, I'm feeling called again like there could be moments of realizing we're in darkness in a negative, toxic way, and it could also be recognizing that not all in the darkness is bad. Remember, the seed needs the cold and the dark too. So let's read this. Maven of Masks. Who do you want to be? Try that self on for size. You might just discover another genuine facet of you, beyond your known identity. The Maven of Masks tells you, act as you wish to be, and you shall be. Also, I was thinking it's very Gemini energy, too. And Cancer a little bit, but mostly Gemini. So let's see. Have you ever felt the liberation of feeling like a different person when on holiday, traveling in another part of the world, or stepping into a world where people don't know you? That's interesting. I accidentally knocked that off the table there. And it got knocked to where she wasn't seen. Maybe this is a mask of Mavens that has been able to be deceptive so far, either on the hero or the villain side. And remember, we all feel like the hero and like the other is the villain. It's a good to practice getting to a place where there are no heroes and villains, but just for now, having fun in that. It could be somebody revealed or somebody continuing to hide. Anyways, where was it? Let's just start over. So, have you ever felt the liberation of feeling like a different person when on holiday, traveling in another part of the world, or stepping into a world where people don't know you? The masks have come off, and you get to choose who you are going to be. You may feel unfamiliar ways of being, more assertiveness, more confidence, more vulnerability, more feminine or masculine energy, all rising up from within you. These ways of being may not seem like you, not the you that you have thought yourself to be. But just because they are different, new, unfamiliar, doesn't also make them inauthentic. Good word. Quite the opposite. The Maven of Mask card comes to you when it's time to try on another's personality for size, to see how much of it ends up being authentically you, just as a newly discovered you, but true nonetheless. Interesting. It may even be revealed that others have been trying to do that. You never know. Have you ever heard the expression, fake it till you make it? Some people don't like this idea. They feel it is not genuine. It depends on how you use the idea to your advantage. There is a difference between pretending to be someone or something that you are not, and experimenting, exploring, expressing a self you know is within you, but are yet to fully realize yourself to be. In truth, we have the entire universe within us. If you want to discover new qualities in you, you are going to have to start somewhere. Believe, first of all, that you have undiscovered depths and diversities in you, which is a good point. Don't believe that you are stuck in whatever way that you are, or that anyone else is. Second, you have to play. Not play acting, but playing. What is it like what is it like to show up for life as if you already have all the courage and sass that you long for, or all the creativity and confidence you yearn for? See yourself as that person, as having those qualities. Otherwise, you are like a bird who is yet to fly. It's in you, but you have to have faith first and act as if you do. The bird who has never flown has it in him to fly, but he has to make the leap of faith to realize this for himself. I like how they mixed in masculine and feminine energy in there. Let's see, the affirmation for that one is, there's more to me than meets the eye. I have hidden depths full of surprising traits and qualities, which I discover happily. The other card, and it'll be the last card for this reading. Ooh, wow, over an hour. I don't think I've done an over an hour reading before. So the other one we have is Circus of Love. Interesting card, isn't it? Lots of crimson red energy in there too. And not quite queenly, maybe princessy. Well, I guess sort of empress-like. You know, she's kind of empress-like. And she's card number 35. Again, 8. That makes me laugh because it wasn't even a card that came out, but I felt called to look at it. She's another one who kind of has an expressionless expression. But it's interesting. She kind of has, whereas we have the Maven kind of looks like she's got not much. I mean, she doesn't look bad, but she looks like she's got simple things. And she enjoys being playful, whereas the Circus of Love person seems like she's all dazzled up and like all dressed up and nowhere to go, or like she has all this stuff and she's still not happy. Funny enough, I know that's not what I know that's not the interpretation of the card, but that is my interpretation. So, Circus of Love, card number 35. Love, in all its forms, is the ultimate prize in the game of life. But you've got to be in it to win it. Forget excuses and open your heart to love, to life, to luck, to laughter. For the circus of love is rolling into your soul town, and it's time for you to be swept off your feet. Love has so many ways to touch your soul and heal your heart. Love is the power that moves us beyond our individual concerns or doubts, sweeping us up into a divine field of energy that feels amazing. Love wants to flow through you, to create through you, to express itself through you. You are a love child of the divine, and love is at the core of your being. Sometimes you'll feel very close to this love, swimming in it, or like it is a fountain gurgling up from inside. At other times, you'll feel as though you cannot quite remember what it is to feel loving or to feel loved, or to be loved. Then it is time to stop looking for love in all the wrong places and turn within to find it. From the kindness, sweetness, affection, and warmth within your own heart, you will find great reserves of energy, creative confidence, and bold trust to open your heart to love, to life, to your own unfolding life journey, which is also related to the moon card. I often practice a mantra of saying, just allow it to unfold, especially if things are not like resonating in the moment with what I want to hear or what I want to know, and then leaving myself open to, well, like delight and joyful amazement because I don't know what's going to happen. So I try to practice often just saying, just allow this to unfold. And oftentimes when I do that, it turns out better than I thought it would have needed to go anyways. Anyways, do not turn away from where your heart wants and needs to go. Wasn't I saying something like that in the beginning? Hmm. Let your mind relax. It doesn't need to understand everything or be in control of the process of falling in love. With life, with the person, with yourself, with your purpose. In fact, if you are to truly fall in love, then your mind will not feel in control at all. The heart has its own wisdom and special type of feeling intelligence. It knows how to be swept away. It understands the difference between unhealthy obsession, which prevents you from resolving the underlying issues of pain, and healthy, passionate, fierce devotion to that which sets your soul on fire. Oh, sorry. I turned one too many pages. Don't skip ahead. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, love has its own wild ways, and they are brilliant and instinctive in a way the mind cannot always grasp. So trust what your heart loves, what moves your heart, what makes it beat faster and love more. Then you will find that all sorts of strange wonderfulness, creative chaos, and bold color emerge from within and dances around you. Your life may begin to feel like a circus, but what could be better than the circus of love? That reminds me of a song too. It's called Imperfectly Perfect, and it talks about bringing lovers all the colors in their eyes. And yeah, you might like it, or it might be a theme, or you might hear it. I don't know. Yeah, if you've been struggling in matters of the heart, the circus of love indicates that a heart healing is happening, and your experience of love is about to become more vibrant, exciting, and playful, and perhaps even somewhat unconventional or unusual. It also indicates that a love affair with a person, place, or thing is about to begin or deepen. It's a time to let yourself be swept off your feet and lose your head in love. And the affirmation is, I love to love, and the universe loves me unconditionally. That's a great one. I love that too, because that definitely gets away from focusing on like love to love others or have to be loved by others. And that maybe that's a good theme to think about too. Is like we all kind of get stuck in a feeling like we're not lovers if we don't have someone to love, or that we're not loved if we don't have someone loving us. And it feels like, especially with the expect the unexpected and the precision healing of Scorpio, it feels like we can end up in situations that follow the theme of where our comforts are being removed. And a lot of us, our comforts are other people. And having those removed, we really have to learn self-love. And we had those two cards that were very single energy. And even the Sail card in reverse can, in like, I mean, if you think about a vacation, which typically most people do with a partner or their family, it can be solitude. And not necessarily chosen at first, but you can embrace it. And the same with the Four of Cups in reverse. That can very much be, whereas maybe you had a third or fourth party situation. Maybe you had all sorts of people offering you cups, and no, nobody's offering any cups. Um, or maybe everybody's offering cups and you don't want any of them. Even the underworld theme can very much have to do with solitude and singleness and things like that. All right, so I'm going to end this here. Thanks so much for watching, liking, sharing, all that fun stuff. I very much appreciate your feedback. I'm going to try to do a couple more readings today, but we'll see if Mercury's feeling, if I'm on Mercury's good side. I feel like I am since I found my laptop charger again, but we'll see. So either way, I'll see you in the next video, and thanks so much for watching.